I got some pretty gnarly scrapes in the mesh, which on my previous like frameless backpacks, I've had really burly side pockets on the pack. And so for those to get all, I back flushed it one time just to like see what it looked like. And fortunately we had pretty clear water, but it was still fairly silty. And this thing performed awesome. I didn't really have any issues with slowing in flow rate and that kind of stuff. Really enjoyed that. Carried the little coupler for it, and then I also carried as a backup, which I used a couple times, the Aquamira chlorine dioxide drops, which these were something that I always carry with me, but a super fantastic piece to take with me. Just like mini bendy whatnot tripod. This thing is worth the wait as a YouTuber for sure. And then typically I've just been carrying 2 of these smart water bottles. I've got the 23 ounce on one side, which I like this for just on the trail to drink out of, and I put like a drink mix and stuff in this. But on the other side, I carry, I still have water from the trail in here. The 33 ounce, or the liter size bottle, and that was enough water for me to feel good about where we were at, and we had plenty of water. Then the last thing on the outside of the pack were my tent poles for the tent that you'll see here in just a minute. Here on the top lid of the pack, pull out another zipper pouch, which some of you are going to look at this and go, dude, you have way too many bags, like you could save a bunch of weight with the bags. I go back and forth between like feeling organized and wanting to be organized and just like having all the bags and then not having all the bags. And so this was a trip that I decided to have all the bags. But this was basically my hygiene kits, and I've got some medication and stuff in there as well. Carried wet wipes to be able to take care of my business. One thing that I did already discard was the wet wipes in my dirty bag that I carried out because I didn't bury any of my wet wipes. And then let's see, I've got a leftover drink mix. I did get this little digital thermometer. It was fairly convenient. It was worth trying out. It did kind of fail the first night. It said it got down to 7 degrees, which totally did not. Really the lowest that it got was about 38 degrees. But that was handy to have just to help to know how cold it was. And then I carried also a cell phone little tripod holder because I used my phone for time lapses and stuff. And that's all for the top lid. Go ahead and unbuckle, and we'll get into the main compartment of the pack. Fuel canister, that was obviously very handy. Then in this Dyneema pot sack, which this pot sack is from Light AF as well, I've got my Toaks titanium, which you guys, if you follow the channel, you guys have seen this before, but my 700 milliliter pot with the GSI cup that came from either the Pinnacle Soloist that I purchased or the Halulite Duelist, but it's just a little GSI cup. And then in this zipper bag, I have my Soto Windmaster, the pot stand that goes with it, and then I've got a mini Bic and a Leatherman squirt just to have an extra little piece of tool to use. Then for my lighting sources, I've got my Black Diamond Iota. Used that a bunch more than I have in previous trips, as well as the Nightcore LR10 little lantern. Freaking love this thing. It's just awesome to have in the tent, and got some really cool shots of the tent all lit up in one of the camps that we did. I did carry some more kind of specialty camera equipment. I've got this little like egg timer rotation thing from Movo. This just got off of Amazon, and it just allowed for really cool like panoramic time lapses. This thing was fun to take with all the cool views that we had while out on the trip. These gloves, which I was a little nervous whether or not I was going to use them, but these are just outdoor designs. Gloves have got like leather palms, and I did use these a couple different times, and they were really nice to have actually. Then let's see, pulling out my food bag, which I'm nervous that this is just gonna smell absolutely terrible. But this is a 6.5 liter bag made out of X-Pack from the previously known Kiva Outdoors that I was an owner of. But I've got a little bit of leftover food in here. But, oh yeah, my trash bag full of all the trash, snacks, and I carried the Optimus titanium spoon, long-handled spoon. Dig in a little bit more. I did carry an extra pair of shoes on this trip because I knew that we were going to have to do a section of wading, and did get wet feet, and I like to be able to switch my shoes out, allowed my feet to enjoy like a different type of comfort, and these were really nice. These are the La Sportiva Helios SR, so the sticky rubber, really nice actually hiking around in camp to have that on the slick rock. Then in this bag, again, more bags, I've got all of my extra clothes in here. I've got a pair of thermals, and I did actually end up carrying 2 pairs of thermals because I didn't want to be cold. I just really hate sleeping cold. So I've got 2 pairs of thermals. This pair on the front here is from Rab, and then I've got a pair of these Smart Wools. Really enjoy those. Pair of underwear, extra undies. And then what I did not need was these 2 extra pair of socks. So I had 4 pairs of socks, but I felt like I needed these in case I had a failure with one of them, but I didn't even wear those. But these were just a long, thick pair of Smart Wool socks to keep my feet warm for sleeping. I carried an extra t-shirt, especially in camp when it was cold and I had the like sweaty back and everything from the shirt I was wearing. It was nice to put on a clean, dry shirt. And then for the nights, I had my Black Rock gear down beanie. Just a few more things to point out here. Did carry some microfiber towels, knowing that we were going to get wet. And then I also carried a buff, which was nice to protect from the sun on the second day. Then we'll pull out my dry bag, which this, oddly enough, is not a dry bag meant for this purpose. This is also from Light AF. It's a Dyneema food bag, part of their food bag kit, but I've been using it as a dry bag for all of my sleeping gear and my warm weather clothing, like my down stuff. So I've got my Arc'teryx down jacket that I used every single night while we were out. My Sea to Summit pillow, which absolutely love this thing. I've been super happy with it. And then the sleeping pad. This was also one of the failures that I had that was absolutely 100% my fault in how this happened. But on the morning of the second day, I pulled out my gear and a really sharp rock that I was using to help stake out my tent on the slick rock, and I just tossed my pad out onto the slick rock, and it caught the edge of that rock and it sliced the underside of the pad. But this is the Xped Sinmat UL in the medium size. It's 20 inches wide, and this was really nice to have to keep me a little bit more warm, knowing that we were going to be sleeping on slick rock and having that kind of cold transfer. I wanted something that had some good insulation in it. The tent that I used is the Perea Outdoor Products Bryce one-person tent. Really enjoyed this. It was nice to have a freestanding tent and to be able to know that it was not going to have issues setting up on the slick rock and whatnot. So the Bryce one-person tent from Perea Outdoor Products. And last but not least, probably my newest most favorite piece of gear that I've purchased as of late. This is my Sierra Designs Cloud 20 800 fill down sleeping bag. So it's 20 degree. This thing I cannot wait to do a review on because it really has been a game changer in the past 2 trips of just me sleeping more comfortable, warmer, and just having a really good experience. Even more so than I've had with quilts in the past. So really psyched on this. But there you go, guys. That is my gear loadout for the 4-day trip that I had doing the Beehive Traverse. Everything in this was used minus my pocket knife. the Benchmade bug out, as well as the Leatherman squirt. Everything else was used on the trip, and so I call that a success for sure, because it's nice to be able to carry things that you use as opposed to having a bunch of stuff that you don't use. And I felt very prepared, felt like I had everything that I needed for this trip, and so just really excited about the experience that came from using this gear, and allowed me to be safe and comfortable and happy while out on the trail doing a really difficult backpacking trip. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Also hit that little notification bell if you would like to get notifications of when I put videos out every Monday and Thursday. If you're into supporting me in other ways, check me out on Patreon. I've got a link down in the description. Would love the support there. You can support in different ways. Small donations that would be really appreciated. And as always, guys, have an awesome day. We'll catch you on the next video.